Hello. There is a YouTuber I like to follow named Carson. And what I like is he encourages his audience to get creative and submit stories. And recently, he had a story contest that had a lot of limitations to it, so they could only be very short stories. And he really didn't get enough entries for there to be any winners. And he didn't read any of these stories in full. But I have 2 of them. And one of them is The Garden of Eternity it was submitted by Zombie Ryushu. And I am not the author of this story, but she is a friend of mine, and I did do a beta reading before she submitted it, and she may have done some editing on this first chapter before she sent it back to me. And she's actually written a lot more of this story since then, and I've read almost all of what she's wrote since then. And I think it's gone past being a novella to being novel length whenever she's going to get done with it. But that's enough introduction. I think I will just start reading. See if I can zoom in a bit. Where the frick is the zoom button? Oh, here we go. There. That's good. The Garden of Eternity. The creature Actium made? I never noticed that subtitle. The author's actually in the chat on the side there, so can you answer the question, what does the word Actium mean? All right. The queen's body was still warm. Cleopatra, the woman who refused to bow to Rome, died by her own hand. There were 2 puncture wounds on her breast from where the asp bit her. A young priestess named Neferet could see it from where she knelt by the couch draped in purple, the figure upon it motionless, the face she had seen on coins and temple walls now slack and pale. Neferet knelt in prayer. The old priest Kenti, whose name was one of the library scholars, had brought her here for the death prayers, the first sacred words that would begin the queen's journey to Osiris. A great honor, he had said. Her hands were shaking. Her hands shaking. Neferet tried to focus on the words. O Osiris Queen, justified before the great tribunal, may your Ka fly forth to the field of reeds. May your... Kenti was watching her. Not the body. Her. Neferet faltered. Holy One, should I continue? Or... Why are you staring at me? Continue, he said. His voice was strange. Tight. You're doing well, child. The goddess hears you. Neferet swallowed and returned to the prayer. But something felt wrong. The air in the chamber had grown heavy and thick, like breathing through linen. The lamplight seemed dimmer, and the high priest Amos, standing in the corner, had pressed his hand over his mouth as if he might be sick. Kenti, Amos said quietly, are you certain? It's too late to be uncertain. Neferet looked up. Holy Ones, I don't understand. What is going on? There was a sharp pain behind her eye. It came like drowning in reverse. Not water filling her lungs, but fire, conscious memory, a lifetime that wasn't hers, crashing through her skull like a wave against rocks. Her hand began to shake. Her body followed. Neferet began to jerk violently. Kenti walked over and cradled her head. Get me some water, he said. Neferet's movements jerked more, and foam poured from her mouth as multiple people had to restrain her. Neferet's eyes were rolled back into the back of her head, showing only whites. 45 seconds. During this time, she released her bladder. The convulsing stopped, and Neferet's eyes opened. They darted around in confusion. She grabbed her head with both hands and started screaming incoherently. When she woke up next, the priests had watched the smell of urine and changed her clothes. She's breathing. It worked, said Kenti. She's breathing, said Kenti. It worked. Isis preserve us, said Amos. It actually worked. Majesty, Majesty, Kenti exclaimed. You must calm down. What have you done to me? The words came out in Greek. Ragged, barely intelligible. Kenti's eyes were bright with something that might have been triumph. You live! Against all odds, said Kenti. Against Rome itself, you live. The technique worked. Your body died. Your Ka flowed into this new vessel. The girl was prepared, positioned, ready to receive your Ka and give you new life. Cleopatra looked down at herself, at the white linen robe of a temple initiate, at the small breasts, narrow hips, and smooth, unblemished skin. Neferet's small hands would not stop trembling. "Whose body am I in?" Neferet's small hands would not stop trembling. "Whose body am I in?" "Her name was Neferet," said Kenty. "I suppose it is your name now." "Did you sacrifice a child to revive me?" asked Cleopatra. "That was not the intent," said Kenty. "Your soul and hers were supposed to conjoin. So I have to live life as this girl all over again?" asked Cleopatra. "Correct," said Kenty. "You will live in this body from this point on. We have given you immortality, eternal life. You are our best hope to save Egypt from the Romans." "How am I supposed to save Egypt in the body of a 17-year-old priestess?" Cleopatra asked. "You have all the time you need to discover that," explained Kenty. "So," Cleopatra began, "if I am immortal, couldn't I just walk up to Octavian and twist a dagger in his back?" "You could do that," said Kenty. "But then you would have 10 centurions tear your vessel to pieces. You are still flesh and blood. When your host vessel dies, you will pass to another, and another, and another. Your soul has been removed from the natural order, weighed against a feather of mat. You can no longer pass to the field of reeds. Anubis himself has exempted your soul from judgment. You'll wander the earth until time itself comes to an end." Cleopatra spent the first night thinking about her children. As far as she knew, all 4 of them had been executed by now. "Immortality," Cleopatra thought to herself. "I have nothing to lose. I can walk up to him and stab him where he stands. Even if his Roman guards kill my vessel, I just move bodies to someone in the room or outside and quietly walk away." "That's incredibly short-sighted of you," said Kenty. "His guards will murder you before you get within 100 feet of him." Cleopatra didn't listen to Kenty. The next morning, she took a 20-minute walk down to the palace. Octavian was coming out of the palace with no less than 6 centurion bodyguards. "Octavian!" Cleopatra called out to him. Octavian turned to face Neferet. "You will address me as Caesar Augustus, girl. I am the queen. You have usurped my throne." The centurions all looked at each other, then at Neferet, and laughed. "Begone, priestess, or I shall have you flogged for wasting my time," Octavian said with a smile. Kenty came running. "Divine Caesar, I am very sorry. My daughter has been suffering from fever for days, and she has only just begun to recover. See that your daughter behaves herself. I warned her that if she spoke to me again, I would flog her." Octavian and his centurions walked away. Kenty dragged Cleopatra back to the temple. Cleopatra entered the sanctum, furious. She was still wearing whatever simple priestess garments Neferet owned. Perhaps she's grabbed a ceremonial knife from the altar, or is pacing like a caged leopard. the rage of being dismissed by Octavian. "Begone, priestess, or I shall have you flogged for wasting my time," was fresh in her mind. He dared to threaten me with flogging. I, who negotiated with Caesar, who commanded fleets, who... Cleopatra raged. Kenty spoke to her calmly. "You, who are currently a 17-year-old temple priestess with a shaved head, acne, no army, no gold, and no name he recognizes. I have many things that I need to explain to you. You are in the body of a teenager, and your mind is swimming in humors and rage. You are immortal, but you are not invincible. That is an important distinction. Octavian can crucify you. You will feel every moment of the agony. When Neferet's body finally dies, you will pass to someone passing by. It may be a slave." "Divine Majesty, do you remember the Ides of March? When Brutus and Cassius believed that one dagger stroke could restore the Republic? Would killing the tyrant solve everything? What happened?" asked Kenty. "Brutus lost terribly to Octavian at the Battle of Philippi, and Cassius had his own slave kill him," said Cleopatra. Kenty spoke up. "More than anything, I need you not to be a child your body reflects. You will be immensely powerful once you understand your abilities." "What are the supposed abilities I have that are beyond that of mere mortals? What is this oh-so-wonderful gift Osiris, Anubis, and Isis bestow upon me?" Cleopatra said sarcastically. "Each time you die, your Ka will move to a new body. It will always be a woman, but you will remember every moment of your past lives. All of your original experiences from your original incarnation will also remain with you. Furthermore, each new body you inhabit, you gain all the memories and experiences of the person that body was previously," Kenty explained. "I die over and over again? Dying once was terrifying enough," asked Cleopatra. "Ideally, your times between deaths will be lengthy. You should live out a normal lifespan per body. Taking care and precaution, you can insulate yourself from the worst forms of death. We can have the next priestess standing by, so in an instant you fall asleep in one body and wake in the next, looking at your corpse," said Kenty. "Hopefully, next time that will not happen for a good long while. This is your path to apotheosis. You are a child now, but as you develop, you will grow in your knowledge. The library will be your greatest arsenal," Kenty continued. "You mean to make me a goddess? On the order of what? Isis?" asked Cleopatra. "That will happen in due course. I suggest you become a scribe at the library during this time. Keep your head down. Learn all there is to learn. Pretend to submit to Caesar. Make him feel safe around you. Study your books and the arcane. At the end of Octavian's life, I promise you, you will see him in agony, terrified that the end is coming, pleading with you for the terrible things he has done. Your hands will be clean, and Octavian will be getting exactly what he deserves, said Kenty. Do you swear that on the bodies of my dead children? Said Cleopatra. I swear, Kenty pleaded. After 2 or 3 lifetimes, no one will challenge your power. Rome's legions will defend you. Caesar's and Octavian will tremble at the sound of your name and want to be nowhere near you. Isn't it blasphemy for me to become a goddess myself? Cleopatra asked. Isis was once an ordinary queen in our oldest text of her. Go to the library, he said. Start reading. Medicine, astronomy, mathematics, philosophy. These are your shields and swords. These are your quivers of arrows. The more you learn, the more of a danger you are to Octavian. You have time now. Use it. Kenty dismissed her. We must have selected a candidate that was much too young for this, said Amos, entering the room. I agree that we have. Part of me thinks she is reacting out of grief and loss. The other part of me thinks the mind of Neferet was too underdeveloped for the role, lamented Kenty. We are sure that this worked, are we? Asked Amos. Yes, it worked better than we'd hoped, but we selected a host for her that was too young. We need to leave a message for the priests that come after us to select a host that is at least 25 years of age. Tomorrow I will take her to the forum to show her what she is risking, and hope it sobers her wits, said Kenty. The morning air was thick with incense and fear. Cleopatra couldn't think of herself as Neferet. She refused to. Cleopatra walked beside Kenty through the crowded streets of Alexandria, holding his hand. She seemed like this man's daughter. Keep your head down, Kenty said quietly. Keep your hood up. The part of your mind that understands consequences can plan beyond immediate gratification is not fully formed yet. They entered the forum together. 2 women stood on the platform, their hands bound. One was perhaps 30, dark-haired and beautiful, in a way that might have been called regal in different circumstances. The other was younger, barely older than Cleopatra's current body. Who are they? Cleopatra asked. Frauds, and now they are soon to be dead. They were pretending to be you. One said she survived the asp bite, and one claimed to be Cleopatra Selene. By order of Caesar Augustus, these women stand accused of treason against Rome. They have incited sedition and rebellion against divine Caesar himself, and as such, this carries the sentence of death, said the Roman official. A Roman soldier stepped forward and struck her head off, using his gladius, silently with a single blow. Cleopatra's hands clenched into fists, Neferet's small fists. This is what you wanted yesterday, Kenty murmured in her ear. To announce yourself, to make Octavian acknowledge you as queen. Had Octavian taken you seriously, it would be you in the forum suffering the same penalty. The following morning, Cleopatra got up, washed herself, and after putting on a clean set of temple priestess garments, walked to the library of Alexandria. My name is Neferet, and I would like to begin work as a scribe. The head librarian nodded her head, entered her name into the registrar, and began to assign her scrolls to maintain and copy. Cleopatra started reading. Medicine, astronomy, mathematics, philosophy, everything she could with the single goal in mind of reclaiming her kingdom and destroying Octavian. 15 years later, Cleopatra, in Neferet's body, had ascended to the title of High Priestess of Isis. The temple's reading room had become Cleopatra's administrative office. She had turned the Temple of Isis into an administrative machine that slowly captured the operations of existing Roman institutions. Neferet's body was 32 now, fully mature. The last traces of adolescent awkwardness long gone. She sat across from Kenty, now white-haired and frail, surrounded by scrolls covered in her own notation. We will create our own administrative parallels to Rome, and unique offices to handle the affairs of Egyptians. We need to create the temple department of grain distribution. We manage our own granaries, our own storage facilities. We pay Rome their required exports. Of course, every kernel accounted for. But we also feed Alexandrians when Rome's distributions fail. When there's a drought or a flood, we step in as their saviors. This grows temple membership as our reputation grows. They'll notice, Kenty said. Roman governors aren't fools. They'll notice we're efficient. Helpful, even. We'll save them work. Cleopatra's stylus moved faster. Temple Department of Public Works. We already had handle burial rites for Egyptians. The temple can expand and repair aqueducts. The idea is we rot the Roman system of government from the inside out. We pay Rome the tribute Caesar expects, in grain and in coin. We use excess temple funds to find Roman senators sympathetic to our operation. Senators are easily swayed if you contribute to their budget. We use that to get more favorable Roman governors than Cornelius Gallus running Egypt. This will seem controversial among the leadership, but I must insist, no talk of rebellions or revolts. No discussions of Egyptian independence from Rome. Rebellions and insurrections result in crucifixions, wars, famines. Egypt within Rome, Cleopatra corrected, not fighting them directly. That's what they expect, what they're prepared for. Instead, we make ourselves indispensable. We become the machinery that makes Egypt run. Even the Caesars almost breathed. Especially the Caesars. Cleopatra's eyes were bright. Because if a Caesar can't control Egypt, they can't guarantee the grain shipments that feed Rome. Kenty looked at Amos. Did we create a queen or a monster? Amos replied, Does it matter? that's the first chapter of this. So, the things I like about this story is I've heard about this genre of historical fiction, and I don't think I've actually read that genre. The closest thing I could think of that I've read would be more like low fantasy, and I thought that's what historical fiction was, but the author has continued writing more chapters of this, and we really see the history of Rome unfolding as Cleopatra body hops and manages things in Alexandria, and we see Caesars come and go with each body she's reincarnated in. Like, if you're interested in Egyptian and Roman history, you could read a history book, but that's actually pretty boring. History books only give you the facts. They may have nice pictures, but the way she writes this actually makes you want to read it. Like, you may have heard of the crazy Caesar Nero that's pretty much accelerated Rome's decline, but the chapter she writes about him, you see him up close, and he's a crazy lol cow personality, and it is a lot more engaging than reading about him in a history book. And the other thing I like is this is a very I have no mouth and I must scream kind of concept, which by that I'm not referring to the actual story by Harlan Ellison, but it has a trope named after it that you can look up on TV tropes, and it's basically a trope that is a character having a fate worse than death. And Cleopatra never moves on to the afterlife. She is always body hopping to a new body every time she dies. And later on in the story, I've been reading it, and Cleopatra becomes an atheist, which confused me because she must have got this body hopping ability by magical or divine means somehow. So why would she eventually become an atheist? Well, when she body hops, she doesn't see the afterlife. She just her last memory is just dying from the last body she was in and instantly being in a new body, and she doesn't see what happens in between that. And she's actually secretly listening to people's prayers and requests at the temple in Alexandria. So they think they're praying to a goddess, but she actually writes down their requests and gets people to fulfill them. So after hundreds of years, she knows that the gods aren't answering these prayers. She's the one doing it all. So knowing that, it does make sense that her faith in the gods was broken after she got this body hopping ability. But to wrap this up here, I think the author has something really good here. I don't know if when they're finished, they want to release the whole thing for free, or they want to monetize it by publishing it somehow, but I really do think at the end of it, this could be a publishable story. I mean, if you've been paying attention to the text, you've probably noticed a few errors and typos, so which was hard for me to not point out reading, so it's not in a final draft form yet, but reading stories out loud like is monumentally helpful to catching stuff like that, and just how good the story sounds out loud is pretty important to how readable it is. And I think this is good. So this was one of the 5 entries. The other one, the one that I wrote, was called Lucky Cats. I might read that one next time. And the other 3 stories in that contest were really out there. I would like to see them, but I don't know if those authors are ever actually going to get those out, besides Carson's funny little summary of them. So I think I'll close this here, and maybe next time, in a few days, or whenever I feel like doing it, I'll read Lucky Cats.